Have you ever punched a giant bug in the face while standing next to a fat panda taking the hits from a giant mantid, only to be confronted with even more annoying mantids with daddy issues? If your answer is no, then you clearly haven't played Mists of Pandaria. Let me elaborate. Mists of Pandaria wasn't supposed to work, at least according to some corners of the community. There were people who laughed when they saw the trailer and quit before they even started. Kung Fu Panda expansion, they muttered, but then they tried it, and suddenly they were emotionally invested in the political ethics of a panda-filled zone. So is it worth sticking around for Mists of Pandaria Classic? This is the only expansion that starts on the back of a giant turtle. That's not a metaphor. It's literally a floating continent. The Pandaren are calm, wise, and apparently so chill they waited 10,000 years to pick a side in the Horde versus Alliance war. And when they did, they joined both. Because, well, they are Pandaren, if that even makes sense. Their zones are painted like watercolor scrolls, full of lanterns, misty cliffs, and music that sounds like your stress is being exercised. It's all peaceful, until you get to the part where the earth literally vomits out the physical form of your negative emotions. The Shah aren't just bad guys, they're you. They're the worst parts of you turned into giant black smoke monsters with too many teeth. Shah of anger, Shah of fear, Shah of doubt. It's like Blizzard watched everyone flame each other in trade chat and decided to make bosses out of it. These creatures corrupt entire zones, whole villages, even people you like. They turn monks into murderers, and statues into murderers. Everything becomes a murderer. The best part, it actually works in the lore. Pandaria is peaceful, until outsiders show up, then emotions leak out like a broken sewage pipe and everything goes to hell. You start in a lush bamboo forest, hike a cliff full of angry grannies and demonic yetis, climb to a snowy monastery, and end up in an imperial capital built entirely on denial. Each zone in Pandaria is different, and they're not just copy-pasted biomes, they evolve. You even roll right into a farming simulator. The Valley of the Four Winds feels like a break from war, until Mantid comes screaming out of the earth like someone kicked open a bug nest. The continent has mood swings, just like the players. Lei Shen doesn't talk. He declares. He zaps half your raid before the fight even starts. Throne of Thunder wasn't just one of the best raids this expansion. For me, it's one of the best raids ever. Mechanically dense, visually insane, and full of that weird Titan tech meets dinosaur apocalypse aesthetic. And if you weren't there during progression week, you probably missed your raid leader's soul leave their body during Council of Elders. Honorable mention, Dinomancer, trash mobs. Who else thought that was a good idea? Monks punch things, they also heal by punching, and tank by staggering, and then they drink to manage the pain. Blizzard made a whole class based on your uncle who swears he used to box, rolling around the battlefield like a coked up bowling ball. Monks were mobile, stylish, and completely confusing to play at launch. You had to use chi, jab, or roll, summon a ghost, or perform a swirling ballet trick, and sometimes all at the same time. No one knew what they were doing, but they looked amazing doing it. At first, let's help some Pandaren farmers and meditate, and then help me manipulate global politics, awaken an old god's heart, and kill Garrosh before he uses your blood to rewrite time. Wrathion, the Black Prince, is basically Azeroth's Loki. He's charming, untrustworthy, and 100% sure he's the smartest person in the room. He gives you a legendary cloak, only after emotionally blackmailing you for 8 months. Meanwhile, Garrosh Hellscream drinks a war crime smoothie, nukes a sacred city, and gets put on trial in an alternate dimension. And yes, all of that is still in Pandaria. I mentioned WoW's farming simulator before, so imagine being a warrior who killed dragons, and now you're planting and harvesting carrots. Welcome to the Tillers. Yes, there is a daily quest where you become best friends with a yak. No, it's not optional if you want the best cooking recipes. Pandaria had side systems, and then side systems for the side systems. You could do archaeology while farming, while fishing, while cooking, while earning rep with a faction of ghost librarians. It was grindy, but at least it was weird. If you're still here, you're either enlightened or deeply unstable. Either way, like and subscribe before the Shaw of Regret shows up and makes you re-roll again. Let's say you stuck around in Pandaria, you made it through the floating turtle continent, punched some Shaw in the face, got yelled at by lore walker Cho, and planted a very emotionally complicated carrot farm. Somehow you became level 90, and suddenly, everything gets worse. In Mists of Pandaria, Blizzard discovered a new design philosophy. What if the player never logs out? You didn't unlock your gear, you unlocked the ability to unlock gear. Want shoulder enchants? Do Golden Lotus dailies? Want gear upgrades? Farm Valor and then do more dailies? Want to not cry in a rice field? Too bad. The Shaw of Despair is already living in your mailbox. Also, the quest hub you just maxed out? It gets blown up. Blizzard said, "Thanks for grinding, now watch it burn." The Timeless Isle sounded great on paper. No quests, just explore. In reality, it was a lawless zone full of elite mobs, hidden chests, flying mounts that didn't work, and PvP players with a sensor of eternal agony turning you into carrot paste every 5 minutes. The island was littered with corpses, rare timers, and treasure boxes you couldn't open because you forgot to do the thing that unlocks the key that drops from the thing that hasn't spawned in 3 days. And you needed coins to buy vanity rewards. How did you get coins? By killing other players? So basically, Blizzard created Fight Club 2.0 and disguised it as a treasure hunt. The patch where Blizzard added looking for raid, or as I used to call it, looking for regret, was interesting to say the least. The system that lets you raid without talking to anyone, because no one can talk. They're all dead, AFK, or insulting your mother in broken common. Mists of Pandaria introduced full LFR progression. You could see the whole raid story. You could also experience the lowest form of human cooperation. The best part, you got yelled at by NPCs. Wrathion literally shows up and says he's disappointed in your group's performance. Thanks, I already had parents. Looking for raid was where bosses went to feel better about themselves. Pandaria, PvP was either the most fun you ever had or the moment you quit forever. There were 2 metas, get one shot or do the one-shotting. And if you played a melee class, congrats, you are now a traffic cone for frost mages. Balance was a word no one used. Enhancement shamans became gods. Rogues teleported behind you, stabbed you, and then danced. Mistweaver monks did yoga while their team died. The expansion, everyone had a PvP trinket, but no one knew when to use it. By the way, I think this was the best expansion for arenas, right? If you thought earning a legendary item was going to be fun, Mists of Pandaria would like to introduce you to Wrathion's slow burn psychological test. He gives you a quest chain that stretches across the entire expansion. Kill bosses, do battlegrounds, collect sigils, farm valor, listen to his smug voice for over 9,000 hours. And when you finally get the cloak, you don't feel proud, you feel exhausted. It's not epic loot, it's Stockholm Syndrome with wings. If you didn't raid weekly or missed a patch, too bad. Enjoy watching your progress while you sit in the grass. Blizzard gave us Valor points, Justice points, Elder Charms of Good Fortune, Lesser Charms of Good Fortune, Mogu Runes of Fate, Celestial Coins, Timeless Coins, and Tiller Repuration, just to name a few. And all of it was time-gated and weekly capped, and sometimes only usable on Tuesdays. You didn't play Mists of Pandaria, you managed it. Like a second job, except the office is on fire and your co-workers are frogs that shoot lasers. Here's the twist. Even with all the systems, currencies, and time gates, Pandaria worked for me. The zones felt alive. The music felt warm. The themes were deep. The visuals were ridiculous and beautiful. And somehow, the panda memes didn't matter once you met Lorewalker Cho. Pandaria Classic isn't just a throwback, it's a test. Can you survive the dailies, the coin juggling, and the emotionally unavailable dragon long enough to appreciate what was actually one of the most experimental expansions WoW ever had? It's calm on the surface, but underneath, pure chaos. And I can't wait to lose myself in Pandaria again. Anyway, if you stuck around, you're either devoted or emotionally damaged by a talking dragon in a tavern. Drop a like, hit subscribe, before that dragon turns into a persuasive NPC and forces you to do quests for 8 months. So tell me, what painful memory are you the most proud of and miss of Pandaria? Was it the dailies, the cloak, the time you got ganked by a chicken on the Timeless Isle? Let me know